A very warm welcome to all of you. We now begin our next exciting discussion, Prison Tales and Death Rolls. DV Guruprasad, IPS, retired Director General of Karnataka Criminal Investigation Department. He's a recipient of the President's Police Medal for Distinguished Service as a Police Medal for Meritorious Service. He's a guest facility in criminology and law enforcement for many universities and colleges. He is also columnist for several English and Kannada dailies. Vasantha Kumari, a very well-renowned writer and author who is known for her books and poems. Dr. Harshali Singh is a member of judge at the Consumer Forum, an author, a poet, an occupational therapist, and a painter. She's also been conferred with the iconic award 2022 by Aesthetics Award International Lifestyle Magazine. She has written in several literary genres ranging from poetry, fiction, anthologies, and magazines. This interesting conversation will be led by Dr. Harshali Singh, and I now request her. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm humbled and honored to be here with you today on this platform, and I thank PILF who gave me this opportunity to discuss this very often overlooked topic of incarceration and the effect it has on the inmates as well as the mind space of the inmates when they know that the time is limited. I Today I'm joined by two tall and very immersive personalities who have been deeply and very directly actually impacted by the word imprisonment. So welcome to my co-panelists. I hope we'll have a great discussion. Uh,
So
and
thank you
thank
so
you for having me, PILF. We are very honored to be here. Now, as you've all heard the introduction, so I don't need to go into that. There is a huge body of work, that is written by the panelists. So they have written books that add value to the landscape of a very pertinent topic, as I was just saying, which we shall discuss later, of course. But first, let me actually try and scratch out a little bit more about the authors behind the books and their journeys from the point that they realized that they wanted to write to the point in time that we stand today. You never know what's around the corner. And so it could be everything. It could be anything, or it could be everything, or it could be nothing actually. You keep one foot in front of the other, and then one day you look back and you realized you've climbed a mountain. Vasantha, tell us
Hello.
about your Tell us about your journey from a young girl to this powerful woman that you are today, and having written so much, about your struggles, about your journey, and you've had a life which has been full of struggle, full of strife. So tell us a little bit about the young Vasantha. When did she realize, or what was the reason that you wanted to write?
Okay. Uh, oh, first, I am apology too, because I am not fluency in English and Hindi. My mother tongue is Telugu, but I have I try to express my views in English. Huh? My entire
Certainly,
life
don't.
has been a battle, but the most difficult time is upon us right now. To give you a little bit of background, me and my husband G.N. Saibaba, former professor, Delhi University, come a small coastal town called Amlapuram in Andhra Pradesh. I met
Ji.
Sai in 10th grade, where
Okay.
we bonded over our love for literature and shared mindsets. We exchanged many letters, dreaming of an egalitarian society with no discrimination between castes and genders. I like that Sai always respected women and believed that they had equal capabilities as men, which was very different from what the society viewed.
Yes.
Sai, since age 5, both legs affected by polio, and has been over 90% differently abled, physically differently abled. But he overcame that obstacles, always struggling to do his best. Despite of all hurdles, he did MA in English from Central University in Hyderabad and PhD from DU.
Yes.
We
So,
moved.
Vasantha,
Uh,
sorry to, but tell us about yourself. Tell us about Vasantha as a young
yes,
girl.
yes, because without Sai, Vasantha is not, and without Vasantha, Sai is not there.
Ah, what a
So
nice
we
thing to
both
say.
together moving and
How
like
wonderful.
that. Actually, we moved to Hyderabad in 1991. We got
Okay.
a registered marriage where our visions about society and our personal convictions led us towards the path of activism. I joined a women's group, and Sai fought for the rights of the marginalized, the Adivasis
Wonderful.
and tribals. Actually, Sai need help because of his disability. No?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Every day
Vasantha, we'll come to that.
I am
Yeah, we'll
helping in
come to that. We'll come to that bit of it.
every time I am helping,
Oh, I
and
think.
we apply our thoughts and dreams together, going
Right.
throughout the
Right.
life.
So, yeah, we'll come
Because
to that, Vasanta. Now, let me ask, sir, uh, from a celebrated and a decorated police officer, uh, and from the police force, you became an author. Tell us a little bit about this expansive body of work that we were talking about earlier, and why you and when you decided to start writing.
Look, before I became a police officer, I started my career as a journalist. I started
Okay.
writing at the age of 14, and
Hmm.
thought that the best career for me was journalism. I
Yeah.
came to Indian Police Service sort of by chance, and
Hmm.
once I joined the Indian Police Service, uh, after I became a superintendent of police, I thought that many people are not aware of crime, and I wanted to write about crime so
Okay.
that I could prevent crime in society. People, if they take small precautions, they can definitely stop being victims of crime. With this in
Right.
mind, I started a column in a local magazine, which became after that my first book was published in 1983. After that, I have not looked back at all. My last book, my 72nd book, has been published only 3 days ago. And
Okay.
I keep writing. After while I was in police, I used to write most about crime, about law, about travel, about humor. These are the genres that I write about. And now that I am retired from service, I fully devote my time for traveling and writing.
Okay, wonderful. And many congratulations on the new book.
Thank
And
you.
I believe there's a new one coming up again in another month.
Yes.
So, congratulations on that as well. Gautam Buddha says that no one really saves us, but ourselves, truly ourselves. We are the ones who save ourselves. And so, hence, we must ourselves walk the path that is going to find the light at the end of the tunnel. So, Vasanta, the book that you have compiled, "Why Do You Fear My Way So Much," is a heart-rending and a emotive and a very emotional collection of poems and letters that you have compiled. So, tell
yes,
us, where was the genesis of this book? How did this book come about?
yes, mainly this collection of poems was entirely penned in the Nagpur Central Jail by G.N. Saibaba. Actually,
Yes.
because of the Deccanine Law EAPA, in a false case, he was arrested and incarcerated since 2014 in Nagpur Central Jail. Uh, After his conviction,
Right.
in 2017, which came as surprise because we had a very strong case without any crime and evidence. In our democratic country, thoughts were criminalized. Sai was in mental anguish, and poetry became his only outlet. He is
Yes.
lodged in solitary confinement in the under cell, which is only half covered by a roof, letting in the chilly air of the winter that freezes your bones. In that hard conditions in the prison, Sai is actually Sai is an academician who
Hmm.
used to read several books and to teach English literature, and writing became crucial for him to survive this period. He wrote his
Right.
poems here with a source of minimum source of light and whatever stationery he could find. He was very much
Right.
inspired by the prison memories of Gugi Vatyango and the poetry of Faiz Ahmad Faiz. If you notice,
Hmm.
each poem is addressed
Yes.
to someone. These
Yes.
poems were written as part of letters. He expressed his views in a poem.
Hmm.
In letters, I collected
Yes.
all poems and compiled this, and this is why do you fear
Thank
my
you.
way so
Yes.
much.
Yes.
In this
So much.
book,
Yes.
really reveals that was his
We.
reaction to the world outside, and they express
Right.
his deep languishing to the free to see the green grass and the blue skies. They also contain the stillness of isolation and powerlessness he felt despite suffering from left hand paralysis. He renders it difficult to write, but
Yeah.
he did this very difficulty conditions also.
He
He
wrote the
expressed
book. Yes.
views in
His
letters
anguish.
like a poems.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. It really sheds a lot of light on how cathartic writing can be, how important it is for people to put their thoughts and feelings on paper. In fact, as a, psychologist, also say that when you go for therapy, they will tell you that you should start journaling, you should start writing about what you feel, because sometimes when you put it on paper, you realize that the struggle and half the battle is almost won, or at least
Yes,
one third, in my opinion. But certainly, I understand your reason to bring the book out, which will we will go into later. In fact, that is another question I'd like to know from you. But
yes,
sir, coming
so
to
many
you,
people
uh,
inspired by his book.
so
In this hard
I'll
conditions, also he
yeah,
wrote.
I'll come to that. Yeah. Yes, I'll come to that. I'll come to that and
Yes,
come back to you. Sir, your book, the book, The Shadow of Death, which is again a very hard hitting book.
the
It
shadow.
dwells, yes, yes, it dwells into the convoluted mind of a inmate or a person who is on death row. And so what I wanted to ask you when I read when I read the book was that what made you want to write about this particular topic? I mean, what was it that was there a an incident that happened, or was there something that you were thinking about, or you wanted to explore, or was there a news item that you saw that made you feel that I want to explore this aspect of, because normally people will feel that this is not a it is not something that they would like to actively seek out as a topic or a theme. So I wanted to know what was the reason that you uh, picked up this particular topic.
Look, after my retirement from the Indian Police Service, I was the CEO of a healthcare institution.
Right.
There, I had an occasion to meet
Hmm.
terminally ill cancer patients.
Hmm.
And when I met the terminally ill cancer patients, and there was a counseling session, And
Right.
counseling session, I was with a psychologist, and the psychologist, when she was telling the terminally ill patient that you're going to die in 4 months, or you're going to die in 6 months, or this your life is very short, etc.
Hmm.
They never they had a different type of reactions
Hmm.
for the news that they are going to die very shortly. Some people
Okay.
said that whatever the doctor was telling was lie, they would not believe. So it's a
Hmm.
denial. They denied that they ever had cancer.
Hmm.
Some other people said, yeah, I have had a cancer. Okay, what to do? This is my fate. And they resigned to their fate. The
Right.
third type of people said, okay, what if I have cancer? There are many people who have fought the cancer and have come out of it. So I will also
Right.
fight. So this sort of 3 or 4 different reactions to
Hmm.
the news of your incumbent death. I started wondering, just before my retirement from police, as
Hmm.
I was the Director General of CID, and I had
Yeah.
sent a serial killer. This serial killer was given a death penalty in not one, not two, not three, not four, but 16 cases.
Oh.
And suddenly, my mind turned to him. I said, look, this person has been given death penalty in 16 cases. And in two
Yeah.
cases, the President of India had already rejected his mercy petition. The Supreme Court had. So I thought, let me go and meet him and find out what he feels. Is he also like a terminally ill cancer patient?
Hmm.
Is he resigned to the fate? Does he want to fight it out? What exactly does he think about? I
Right.
started looking at whether there is any body of material that is
Hmm.
available about that, and I will anyway come to it later. That body was not available, which I will tell you little later during the course of our conversation.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. And you're very right that, when you actually step out into this vast universe of the written world, you realize that there are some lacuna which still exist. For particular topics, people don't usually gravitate towards them. So yes, certainly we will talk more about that and your research on which led to this book. uh, Vasantha, coming to you, how difficult was it to compile the poems and letters and to publish the book? How did you go about it? You said that Sai Baba had written the poems and letters, but how difficult was it to bring them together? Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I'm sure all the audience have seen the book, and I'm sure they will pick it up. And I request all the audience who are there, who are watching and who will watch later, to certainly pick up the books. They are very, very interesting and very intriguing. So
Uh,
Vasantha, how difficult was it to
yes, sir.
hmm,
Yes, of course. There was a big challenge as this was a political case, and big publishers wanted to avoid this book to publish. There was a lot of media negative propaganda that scared them. But
hmm,
and our agent kept approaching differently publishing houses, and we
yeah.
finally found Speaking Tiger, who published the work. But I am glad that this book came out as it inspired many others, including artists and authors. This book was also translated into Malayalam, Telugu, and Punjabi.
Okay.
The Malayalam and Telugu published, but Punjabi is going to be publishing.
Okay. No, it will certainly lead to a lot more people being able to read this very emotional and very hard hitting book. And it is a very it is like how anguished GN Sai Baba is in, and how much he requires the help, and how lonely and isolated he was. So certainly the book is a precious gem in our in the world, and we hope more and more people will pick it up and it gets translated into many languages. So coming to you, sir, they say that locks don't cure, they strangle. When you talk about death row and death row inmates, people who know that they have a limited time span in on this earth, there is something called the death row syndrome. So tell us, So, just for context, death row syndrome is the emotional distress that inmates or prisoners who are who know that they have a finite number of days left. Uh, that is what it is. It is called the death row syndrome. And to find out more, I'm going to request sir to shed some light on it and tell us what did you find during writing this book about that particular syndrome.
Okay, before writing this book, I wanted to research on what is death row syndrome. As you know,
Right.
I am a PhD in English literature, so research comes naturally to me, and I
Very
thought,
true.
let me do some research on death row syndrome. And as you very rightly said, death row syndrome is a mental condition which
Mm.
comes to people who have been given death penalty. This death row
Yes.
syndrome, as such, is a European term, but seen
Yes.
more in American prisons, where people are in solitary confinement and they are there till their death. They don't see any outside world. So I just wanted to know whether such a syndrome exists in the death row convicts in India. So I wanted to interview the death row convicts. I wanted to go to various places. It was, mind you, it was a very, very difficult task. First, I am not a psychologist.
I can.
I am a police officer and an English literature student. So I had to take the help of a psychologist to try and frame questions, what questions to ask them. And I wanted him also to come with me to the prison. But unfortunately, to get permission to get into the prison, being a former DGP of police, I had a lot of difficulty. Somehow or the other, with great difficulty, they allowed me to go into the prison and talk to death row inmates. And
Yes.
thankfully, my friend had given me the question. So I had a questionnaire, and once I completed the questionnaire and noted down the answer, then I started, the writer in me took over. So I wanted to ask them about their family background, how exactly they took to crime. And another interesting thing happened was when I
Mm.
went to Karnataka jail. I
Mm.
told you about a person who had been given death penalty in 7 or 8 cases. The same
Mm.
person I met, and this same person, as a person who was investigating the murder cases. I was DGCID. I was
Mm.
investigating the murder cases. So it was I, under my supervision, the charge sheets were filed in that case, and the same
Oh,
fellow was in jail.
okay.
So I didn't know how he would react seeing me. But he had forgotten me, and I said, "Do you remember I am so and so?" He said, "Yes, I remember." Then I asked him, "What do you feel? You have been given a death penalty in 7 cases." He says,
Mm.
"Sir, I am definitely going to fight it out, and I am going to win." And
Oh,
he argued himself in the court. Out of 7, in 5 cases, the death penalty has been converted into lifetime imprisonment.
life
So
sentence.
this is
Oh,
how.
Very
Uh,
nice.
then I compiled the whatever the findings I had, along with the psychologist. We compiled it. I wrote a research paper. It has been published in a Kerala Psychiatry Journal. And later on only I took up this book, because there was a lot of human interest angle in that.
yes, that is true. And so we'll come to the research because it is sounding more and more interesting as we are talking to you and as the discussion is progressing. Um, Vasantha, when I read the poems and the letters, one thing that really struck me is that what I wanted to ask you was that as a family of someone, who has been incarcerated, who's in jail, what has been your experience of the prison system of our country?
Yes, yes. This is a tough experience. We have had a tough experience,
Yeah.
especially because of COVID-19 and the lockdown. We got
Mm.
no letters for 4 to 5 months and no phone calls, and have no way to knowing how his health condition in prison. He is a
Mm.
heart patient, so we were very worried.
Mm.
Due to the nature of his case, we have faced extended harassment too. For example, they installed CCTVs in his cell in 2022, putting his right to dignity in geopathy. Then he went on hunger strike for 10 days to removal of this CCTVs. He declared, but we are afraid because he two times COVID and one time swine flu. He affected ill health is his health is more deteriorated. The jail authorities do not provide him with any crucial medicines. He is
Hmm.
being denied the treatment government hospital doctors have suggested. He needs a regular physiotherapy and like that. Actually, his left hand is paralyzed because of
You
the
said, yeah.
incarceration. No?
Yes.
Then he can't move. He right hand also partially working. At the crucial time, he is in a hunger strike. We are worried. He is a cardiac patient now, and 19 health problems are developed in the prison heart conditions, including a cyst in the
That's
brain and a abdominal lump, and recent MRIs showing that cyst in kidneys also. He already has a difficult time because he cannot move his legs, but due to negligence, he got COVID twice in jail. His medical bail requests and parole requests are also systematically denied, ensuring that he cannot get any treatment. Last
okay.
month, when I met Sai, he said that he is getting frequent chest pains. These are the situation whenever a phone call coming from advocate from Nagpur. We worried a lot and mentally annoyed. Every time I go to Nagpur to meet him, this is not only for me. Many family members experience who are incarcerated, their loved ones in the prison. Na? I see the other family members, young and
Yeah.
aged women, mothers, sisters, and wives show up
Yes.
with babies and toddlers to meet their family. My heart goes out for them. Sai has
Certainly,
also, yes,
it's not easy to,
condition.
yes, it's
That
it's not easy.
Mulakat also is in a few minutes, 20 minutes. That is a fiberglasses are there in between us, and there is a phone. From phone we can talk each other.
Yeah.
That means I feel many times. Once I hug him, and once I shake hand. That I feel once I shake one shake hand uh, brings a strength, lot of strength to me. That's why I am very
Yes.
uh,
You're looking forward to that. I can
yes,
imagine. It's not
yes,
easy, and you are getting more and more emotional as you're talking about it. And I can sense that it's not not something that you, that is very pleasant to remember or to repeatedly talk about. I understand that. However, I think more people need to know that we still have a long way to go. I think the fiberglass that they are putting is for your own security and safety, and also for the inmates or the prisoners' security, because of, as you very rightly said, that because of the COVID they needed that distance. But certainly, I also agree that we need to make some giant leaps when it comes to taking care of people who are incarcerated till they are till there is a decree against them, etc. Even then, I think human rights should not be trampled upon, and I completely agree with you there. So thank you for that. I think you can compose yourself. I know it's not an easy thing to do. So coming to you, sir. Now tell us about the research for the book. We'd like to, having heard Vasantha's plight, you also would have seen something similar. Did you see anything that kind of made you feel uncomfortable when you were, as you said earlier, since we've spoken about this in detail, that when you went to research these the book, and also to for your own research for your as this is an interest area, did you also feel that the prison system requires some sort of change, or what kind of change does it require?
Look, as a researcher, I
Yes.
wasn't allowed to go inside the prison. The
Okay.
prisoner, unlike this mulakat, what Vasantha said, the prisoners were brought to the
You
convicts were
at
brought
a
to
right,
a
right.
separate enclosure
Okay.
where I was there along with them, along with the prison superintendent who was with me, and all
Right.
questions were asked in front of me. So I have not
Okay.
actually gone inside the prison or seen their living conditions to find out how they
Comment
were
on
living.
that.
But
Right.
my question was limited. My this one was limited to finding out whether there is a death row syndrome. Now,
Right.
the law commission itself,
Hmm.
I was point out because you are in the judiciary. The law commission itself wrote about whether death penalty should be there in our statute book or not. There are a lot
Yes.
of studies are made, lot of this one is made, and one of the recommendations that they made was that the law commission felt that there is a what is known as death row syndrome in Indian jails, and
Yes.
this death row syndrome happens because people are incarcerated. What she Vasantha called as Anda, which in
Hmm.
Karnataka they called Andera.
Hmm.
That sort of a secluded solitary confinement. The
Yes.
Supreme Court was already aware of
Hmm.
this, and the Supreme Court has now
Hmm.
decreed that there cannot be nobody should be put under solitary confinement unless
Yes.
he or she is a dangerous criminal. So all the convicts I met, except
Hmm.
two,
Hmm.
were not under solitary confinement.
Right.
They were all in regular barracks. Regular barracks.
Right.
They
Hmm.
could move out, etc.
Hmm.
Now I found out to my surprise that there is no death row syndrome in India, except out of the 70 persons whom I interviewed, except five, the
Hmm.
remaining 65 people did not have death row syndrome. And
Oh.
you will ask me why?
Yes.
Why? Because in fact, my book also ends with that particular quotation. In fact, why is that in the last 15 or 16 years in India, unless
Hmm.
he is a terrorist, unless
Hmm.
he is been accused of a terror crime, nobody
Hmm.
has been hanged. The last hanging for a non-terror crime, that was a rape and murder of a child that
Hmm.
happened in Kolkata.
Hmm.
After that, no other.
Hmm.
Most of the people who have been hanged or for terrorist crimes, like Memon,
Yeah.
for example,
Hmm.
like Ajmal Kasab, for example.
Kasab,
They
yes.
were not, or Afzal Guru, for example. These
That's
were
true.
all
That.
for terror crimes, not for any other crime in the Indian Penal Code or any other law for which death penalty is there in the statute.
Yes.
So my research showed that there is no death row syndrome. I mean,
Okay.
no evident death row syndrome in
Hmm.
among Indian convicts, because they are having a tremendous hope that one day or the other they are going to be freed. I will give
Free.
you one small example. You know,
Certainly.
we I met a person called Reddy. I will not tell his full name. Reddy has been given death penalty, and all his appeals, etc., were rejected. He was supposed to be hanged. On the
Okay.
day I went to the prison, 2 days later he was supposed to be hanged. The hangman had already prepared the noose. Everything was ready, and they were ready to hang him. Suddenly,
Hmm.
he approached the court, and then there was a stay for hanging, and now his death penalty has been converted into life
Lives.
imprisonment. When I
While.
met him
Hmm.
by the High Court, when
Hmm.
because the time gap between the time he was awarded the death penalty till the time
Hmm.
it was ready for execution, the time
Hmm.
gap is very very long. It
Yeah.
was almost 14-15 years long. So this
Okay.
14-15 year gap in
Hmm.
giving the death penalty was the one that
Hmm.
made him escape the noose. And when I met him in jail, I met him twice. The first
Hmm.
time he was not hopeful because his Supreme Court had rejected his petition.
His
But the second
petition.
time when I met him, he was very hopeful. He said, "Sir, they have taken so much of time to hang me. Now that I have got a ray of hope, and definitely the High Court is going to convert my punishment." And it happened. He probably somehow foresaw what is going to happen. So all the prisoners,
Hmm.
except five or six, all the prisoners whom I met had a ray of hope. They always, many of them told me, "Sir, we are going to come out of the, even if we are not going to come out of this jail, we are knowing not going to be hanged in prison." This was the hope. This, that's why in my book, I wrote the last this one. I quoted Alexander Pope and said, "Hope lies eternal in human breast." Hope is always
Yes.
eternal. And
Very true.
I'm taking too much of time, but very, very one short thing I want to tell. One of the death row convicts whom I met, about him I have not yet written up in the book, but it will come in the next volume.
Okay.
He, after hearing him, and after hearing, in fact, what I did was, after going and interviewing all these death row criminals, I went in detail the judgments, the judge who had awarded him the death penalty, the appeal in the High Court, the appeal in the Supreme Court, everything, I studied.
Hmm.
Studying these things about one particular case. And I also met the investigating officer,
Hmm.
who was a police officer like me. And
Yeah.
together, the views of the investigating officer, the views of the judiciary, and whatever the prisoner himself, the convict himself felt, I put all three together and tried to find out what is the truth. And in
Hmm.
one case, I found out that he had been falsely implicated. He
Oh.
I don't I'm as a former police officer, I am 100% certain that he has not committed that crime. But
Oh.
in our system, he has been convicted, he has been sentenced to death. And I really, there may be so many other cases in which,
Yes.
person who has not exactly committed the crime, but he has been falsely implicated. There may be so many cases, and now,
Certainly.
research in my mind, I want to now find out whether there are any such cases. This
Other.
will
Yes.
come up in my book.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, certainly. And we look forward to the next one. I'm sure there are going to be more intriguing and interesting stories. Thank you for that answer. In fact, you covered two of my questions in that, because I wanted to ask you about any, case which, maybe you can take those 2 minutes while I ask Vasantha another question. That
Yeah.
was there a case that, you felt was too brutal or it was too gruesome to put in the book? But
Yes.
before that, I'll ask Vasantha. Vasantha, tell me, how do you keep yourself motivated? It's a very difficult life, as we've been talking about. Your life is very difficult in terms of the waiting, in terms of the constantly, as you were saying, waiting for the next thing to happen, next shoe to fall. You're not sure what is happening to Saibaba in prison.
Yeah.
There was a time when you were not able to even connect with him to know if he's healthy or not, and with so many problems surrounding you, how do you keep yourself motivated? How do you keep yourself taking the next step? As I said, that sometimes when there is so much darkness, one is unable to even see where to put the next step. So up, what do you do, when you feel very depressed or when you feel very unhappy? आप कैसे अपने आप को, how do you lift your spirits?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very difficult because from childhood we are living already mentally, and after 91 we are physically be together. Na? This is a
Right.
long time, almost 8 years. Uh, this is separation of this to each
Yes.
other. Na?
Yes. Yes.
That's why I this uh, actually this there is no evidence and no crime in my husband's case, but
Hmm.
criminalizing thoughts are criminalized. So because of that, some assumptions and allegations, he was convicted. Those,
No, but how do
that
you, Vasanta? But how do you keep yourself going the next day? Because you also need to have the strength to continue this fight. If he is
Yes,
fighting
yes.
from the prison, you are fighting outside, right? You are also outside, and every day you are seeing so many problems. So, how do you keep yourself going? How do you keep yourself
Yes,
motivated?
yeah, and surrounding, I have taken my size fight along with my own outside of the prison,
Right.
including other political prisoners in India who
Yes.
have been locked up unfairly.
Yes.
And his struggle will continue
Right.
because 77% of prisoners in India are under trials, and in case of laws like UAPA, we see
Right.
less than 3% conviction rate. But
Right.
80% are languished in jails, innocent people. I am seeing their pain, and some people, tribal peoples, can't reach their families also. Recently, you see, Pandu narrator in my husband's case died in Nagpur Central Jail with swine flu. They he arrested in 2014. At since 2014, his family members, no one come to meet him because
Right.
the language barrier and the financial problem and the distance. They don't know how to travel, and all
Travel.
these
Right.
tribals and others, no, minorities and marginalized people, legal aid also very important for them. And this is the reason how I am thinking those people, and
Right.
then
So what you're
I
saying is
get
right.
I
I
get
get. I get what you're saying. Yes, I get what you're saying. You're saying that you see other people who are suffering more, and you derive motivation from them. If they can do it, so can you. Right?
yes,
I hope
yes,
I've got that. Yes, I understand that. I think.
yes.
I think as women, as
Despite
I think as
this,
women,
prisons continue to overcrowded, and
yes,
now Guruprasad told there are so many people death row. Then they say to change to life sentence, na. But
right, right,
without a death sentence, many people are died in jails. In see
yes.
in Maharashtra, Kanchan Nannavar and Stan Swami, all are died with negligence of the medical treatment because of
Yes, sir.
their
These are
authority.
actually cases that require a completely different discussion. So we will stick to the discussion that we are having today
No, no,
about
no.
the books
I am
and
telling you,
about. No, no, I
if
understand. I
some
understand,
people
but
are dialysis needed. They are
yes,
also died. Kidney problem.
yes,
Prisoners.
right.
These are
Yes,
all
absolutely.
there, na.
Absolutely.
That's
Certainly. Certainly.
why.
They say that
Okay.
you get everything except freedom when you are in prison. And but we also realize the ground reality that we have a long way to go to improve the conditions. And certainly, and you've answered my question. Thank you so much, because what I was looking was what you answered, that you look at other people who are suffering much more and derive motivation and derive strength from that. So certainly, thank you so much for that, Vasantha. And sir, now coming to you.
Yeah, yeah. I will tell you straight away the answer because I have these 2 minutes I mulled over. In this book, when I wrote in this book, the first question that came to my mind was whether I should mention gruesome details. The first thing I did was
Right.
I sent the draft of my book to my sister, who also has studied law, and then
Yes.
she pointed out certain portions in which she said these are too gruesome. You don't write about them. But there are
Hmm.
certain things that they have happened. I have to make people aware of how how bad things are. I cannot brush them aside or put them under the carpet. I'll tell
Right.
you about one single case. There was a notorious gang based in Karnataka, but operated in Maharashtra, operated in Kerala, operated in Andhra Pradesh, operated in Tamil Nadu. This gang of about 17 to 20 persons both
Hmm.
males and females, would go to various houses, attack and brutally kill people. The way those people killed, they not only, committing murder. As a police officer, I have seen number of cases. These people not only committed murder, but they also committed rape on the people who have died.
Oh,
Necrophilia. This sort of
yes.
people I had not seen, and they did not spare anybody. They killed street prostitutes, they killed beggars, they killed shopkeepers, they killed rich people. For them, there was no
There was no discrimination.
discrimination at all, and no age discrimination, no gender discrimination, no discrimination.
Hmm.
They have been accused of 100 cases of murder, right? I'm sure you would not have heard about a gang in India which has killed over 100 people,
Yes.
over 80 cases of dacoity. These
Hmm.
persons were convicted they were given death penalty in
Hmm.
18 of the cases, and seven of them were common in and even and these people, the way they killed. In fact, in the locality where I live in, there
Hmm.
is a there was a legislative member. They went to
Hmm.
his house. The women folk would carry a small child and then pinch the
Oh,
child, and then
they would cry. Yes.
is crying,
I think
they
I
would
had
go
read this somewhere. I had read this. I think, yeah,
because
yeah,
it
yeah.
really happened, and they would go to a house, knock at the door. When the lady opens the door, they would say the baby is crying. Can you get me some milk?
Some
And when
milk.
the
Yeah.
lady of the house would go and bring the milk, they would assault it. They would always have a rod, iron rod with them. One side of them is sharp, another is blunt. They
Hmm.
hit her head and then pierce her neck, and instantaneous death. They had actually mastered how to kill a person instantly. That sort of gang. And I met them, and many people said that you are meeting the gang. Are you not scared? And
Hmm.
one of them told me in the jail that the person who is responsible for putting them in prison, a
Hmm.
police officer, an inspector, they said that when we come out of the jail, he has imprisoned us for no
Hmm.
fault of ours, and we will take care of him later. And I
This
came to
is
that police officer and said, they are giving you open threat. This is what I have
yes,
written in this book.
right.
And that is the
So
most
what you're
crucial.
saying, what you're saying is that they had no remorse. There
Absolutely
was
no.
no guilt.
Absolute. Absolute. And they said that all cases, the courts of law, 100 cases, at least 80 different judges have seen, and all the prosecutors, they have come to a similar conclusion. I have read the judgments, similar conclusion. But they say that in one case they said our advocate, defense counsel was bad. He had
Hmm.
taken money from the police. In another case, they
Oh.
said the judge has taken money. They did not even
So
feel
no
ashamed.
remorse.
No
Yeah.
remorse. So this sort of cases are there. I think that we are overshooting time. I
Running
don't
short
know.
of time.
So,
I'll
so
just end. Yeah, I'll just end with one question to both of you. Writing this book and compiling this book for Vasantha and writing this book for you, sir, uh, has there been a personal takeaway from this whole gamut of emotions that you would have gone through to write this book, to research it, to to read so much on it, to look at, to meet the inmates, to talk to them, etc. And Vasantha, compiling the book, bringing all the letters, reading them, rereading them, editing them, writing the foreword that you have written in the book, was there a personal impact on you?
Yes, yes. When I actually in this we denied to write and talk in my our mother tongue in Telugu. This is
Oh,
the after 10 days hunger strike at COVID time, Sai put a demand. I to allow the Telugu books and Telugu letters also. Then the
right.
demand accepted. This is my first letter to Sai in Telugu. That is
Right.
when I started. Actually, I have to finish early in August also. But
Hmm.
whenever I am sitting to write, it's very difficult to going to pen down, very difficult for me, because
Yes.
this Sai I remembered, and Sai's letters, in letters Sai expressed his ill health and facing health problems. These are recently also I received a letter from Sai. He is suffering from chest pain, spasms in chest, legs, hands, and stomach. This is very severe, because of the two times COVID attack and swine flu. He is weak. That's why. Yeah,
Yes.
when he wrote, actually, I get strength to read his letters also. Whenever I want to reveal that letters, I sitting and I want to write.
You want to read.
Then I collapsed, and tears rolled my eyes, and at last difficulty, with great difficulty, I completed in December this letter. That is the forward of
Yes.
this book.
Yes.
Translated my letter in English by two people. That is
Thank you.
I
Thank you so much. Yes, certainly. I think that is the crowning glory of the book. For me, at least, as a woman, I can sense that you have literally poured out your heart and written that forward. And that was a letter that you wrote to a person you love, a person you honor and respect. So thank you
yeah.
so much, Vasantha. It was wonderful talking to you. Please stay on. We'll open the floor for questions after Guru Prasad sir has, told us a little bit in brief about the if there was any impact of, writing this book, particularly all the stories that you have compiled together, and you are looking to compile another second edition, the second sequel or the second book in this. So what is the reason, or what is the impact, what is it that makes you keep going on?
Look, I will tell you what exactly writing this book, what impact it had on me. The first, or the primary impact has been, all these days, I was looking at crime from the angle of the investigating officer, from the police angle. Only when I
Right.
started meeting the convicts in prison and started doing research on them, I found out
Hmm.
how very one-sided have been. And after seeing them and how exactly the criminal law works in our
Hmm.
country, so I could whatever I did not know in 35 years of my police experience, I was able to
Compa-
re-evaluate after going to the prison. I could meet people and know more about my own department, which I had seen only one sided. I never thought that they could do this, they could do that. So I could
Very
have a 360-day
balanced view.
360
Yes, balanced
balanced
view.
view of
Yes.
my own department. What are the faults that lay in the entire criminal justice system? And
Ji.
finally, I have come to in the end of my book. I have written that there is absolutely no use in having capital punishment in our statute books. It is better to remove death penalty from our statute books. This is what I firmly
That is
believe.
your, yes,
That's my takeaway.
that's
And finally, I have been writing. Writing has been a cathartic experience for me. So whatever I see, I write, and I write mostly on crime. But I do write and travel. I travel a lot, and I'm very very fond of seeing World Heritage sites, and I write travel books. And I also look at humor. As a police officer, there is a lot of humor involved in our, so humor in uniform. I write about it. So writing has made me sort of a different man. It gives me a lot of
wonderful.
pleasure to write. And thank you very much for this lovely conversation, and PILF for giving me an opportunity to meet Vasantha and you. And thank you. And I am open for questions, and we have got a lot of time left. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So I don't think we have much time left. And so anyone who's watching, if you'd like to ask any questions, if you'd like them answered, please put them in the comment box. If and we will try, and we will certainly have our panelists answer them and come back to you on those. Thank you so much for watching us. And very frankly, after this whole conversation, Nelson Mandela's words are really echoing in my mind, wherein he says that you don't know a nation unless you have seen the prison, have you unless you've seen its prisons. and
Yes.
uh, and I think our whole conversation and discussion today can be encapsulated with those words itself, because yes, there are issues, yes, there are problems like with everybody, but we are moving towards, we have voices like Vasantha, and we have people in uniform, we have celebrated, and at such high places, policy making places, like Sir, who are trying their level best to make their voices heard, whether through the written word, whether through activism, etc. So thank you so much for watching, and I'm really glad I had this conversation, Vasantha. It was lovely talking to you,
Yes,
and
yes.
Sir, to you as well. It was really nice. Yes, yes, please.
As
Any
I
last
appeal to the viewers, right to life is a fundamental right in our constitution. Now, my husband Jan Saibaba is on death row. He acquitted from Mumbai High Court in October, but stayed by Supreme Court. Still, he incarcerated. I am fighting for his release, and I appeal to everyone to support my
Certainly.
struggle.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you. We
he is
will.
on death row. That's why
We
right
will.
to life is a fundamental right.
Sure.
Everyone should fight for the rights of fundamental
Other
rights
people.
given by our
Yes. Yes.
constitution.
Yes. Yes,
And
sir. Any last words?
lastly, I must mention to all the viewers that prisons have been great places for literature. In the during our freedom movement, whatever Nehru wrote, most of the works Nehru wrote are from prison. You mentioned
Yes.
about Nelson Mandela. Prisons, the
Yes.
prisons are a fertile place for literature, and I thank PILF for taking this subject in a literature festival. I thought this would really make an impact. Prison and
Thank
literature.
you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
and
you so much.
all
Yes,
people,
yes.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
It was a very intense and wisdom parting session. We all thoroughly enjoyed it and learned so much that we didn't know about. Thank you, Guru Prasad. Thank you, Vasantha Kumara. And thank you, Dr. Harshali Singh. The next session will start in 15 minutes at 2:45 p.m. Don't miss the conversation Smashing Patriarchy or Recoloring Feminism with Kiran Mandral, Mini Ved, and Tanushree Poddar. We thank our title sponsors Vishwakarma Publications, Silver Partners SBI, Bronze Partner Bajaj Allianz, and our bookstore partner Crossword. Thank you.